Hello, everybody, and welcome to our next session of Explorations in Medieval Dalian. I'm very happy to see everybody here today, and again, I'm extremely grateful that Dolly has come to share her knowledge about this wonderful translation of Zhubing Yuan Holun, and I'm also thankful for everybody who's coming to join us today. We've had some very interesting chats so far, and I'm looking forward to another one. So. With that having been said, I pass the mic to you, Dolly.
Thank you, Robert. And yes, always very grateful that you're facilitating this workshop for us. And I'm actually at the moment in the south of France and about to deliver some classes at this beautiful place near Carcassonne. And it's very sunny still. It's like 7 o'clock in the evening, but it's still quite sunny. You can see it's still very light. And so it's really wonderful that we have been doing quite a lot of work on this 7th century Chinese medical text and a lot of the exercises from this text. And for the next week in this place, I'm going to deliver these exercises and just try out some of the exercises which we have already done and looked into quite carefully. And so I'm going to see how that's going to sort of transfer into the classroom situation. So we'll see. And so thank you everybody for sort of taking on this journey with me so far. And I really feels very grateful for all the insights that you have shared with me. And I think we're doing really, really great. And today, I think because last session we got as far as chapter 8, and chapter 8, which is the symptoms of Win B, starting from page 84. And it has got many Dowing exercises. And so we got as far as 87, I think. And I think we probably could start with 88. I hope that's correct. I think there's probably the one in 87. Should we just look briefly? The one in 87 is the second one. It said so I'll read, yeah. So I'm not quite sure whether we've done this one or not. So again, it says, lying on your back, bring both knees together and spread out your feet. Lengthen your lumbars and inhale qi through your mouth until your abdomen is fully extended. Take 7 breaths. This gets rid of B pain, heat pain, and inflexible calves. I think this one, we probably did it before, not necessarily last session, but I think we did.
We did it last time.
We did.
Correct.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so
that's where we got.
Excellent.
Yeah, excellent.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Felix. So we can then safely move on to the next page, which is page 88. So I will read. Again, it says, sit on the ground with your knees up and lengthen your lumbars. So this is the 句坐. I think last time we talked about the 句坐 or 蹲坐. So the 句 and the 蹲, I think they're all referring sort of almost like squatting. But then because the second character, which is 坐, it makes it on the ground. So 句坐 or 蹲坐, you end up basically on the ground, sit on the ground, but then with your knees up. And then 伸腰 is lengthen your lumbars. Okay. And then using both hands, pull your heels. 以两手引两种. So it's both heels. Inhale qi fully through your nose. Take 7 breaths. So here is you inhale with your nose. It's self-extreme, 自己. 七息 is 7 breaths. So, and then it says pull. This is when I'm starting to get a bit not sure what's going on, and that is pull with both arms covering both knees. And then it says this gets rid of bee pain and vomiting. So the confusion is, which is the Chinese characters, is actually literally pull both hands covering both knees. So then if you are using your hands to cover both knees, I'm not quite sure how you can do that while still pull both heels. So, because in the beginning, it tells you to use both hands to pull both heels. And now it says pull both, so use both hands, if we're going to translate hands, 手, to cover. 布 literally is cloth, but here is like a verb, yeah? So to pull, using both hands to cover both knees. So you can see that why my translation changed the hands into arms, because
yeah, I understand.
yeah, so then it's kind of like trying to cover your knees. Again, the illustration is not very helpful because it's only pulling the heels. But then if we want to combine this idea of covering the knees, I feel like you kind of need to do it in such a way that is the hands is maybe like from the insides. I don't know whether that is possible or not. Should we just try? I mean, it doesn't is so you're supposed to be in that position, and you take 7 breaths. So just maybe experiment on, you definitely pull the 2 heels, but whether you can then somehow cover the knees or you do them separately. So you do pull two heels and then cover your hands with the, cover your knees with both hands. That would be two separate things really for me. So should we have a go and see how you do it? Yeah. unfortunately, I'm still not quite managing covering the knees with my hands. I think I still feel like it's most comfortable just to focusing on pulling the heels, because then that definitely feels the effect rather than worrying about the knees. When I put my hands on the knees, again, it doesn't really do much. I don't know about what you think. So yeah, this is difficult. And also, oh, so Jesse, yes, please.
So I think my connection's better now, hopefully.
Yes. Oh, great. Yeah.
I have a hard time even pulling my heels. Like I had to sort of thread my arms through my legs, which sort of spread my knees out this way a little bit.
Yeah.
And
So
so
I can't.
it felt to me like maybe it was two steps, because I did the pulling the heels and lengthening the lumbus felt good. I felt like that was like a challenging, I could see that opening up the low back a little bit. But then when I grabbed the knees and sort of hugged them to my chest, like covering the knees and pulling them in, it felt like a different exercise altogether.
It does, doesn't it? And I mean, we kind of also need to bear in mind that the text, because it came down from 7th century, yeah. So is before the sort of Song period, it was like a manuscript, so it has to be copied down. And you can imagine there's so many different versions. And I'm just wondering whether sometime they put the sentences in a different place. And to me, this is kind of not really makes sense. But obviously, I mean, I don't know. So I just want to say that there is problem with copying manuscripts, and therefore sentences could be mislaid. Felix.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think I had the same experience as Jesse. So I did them separately, and then they have also, I think, a different effect. I didn't pull them all the way up to my chest, but I just covered my hands.
Yeah.
So that felt to me, it's actually, that's also a nice exercise, I would say, but I'm not sure if that's the right one because that's what you say. So hard to figure out what they meant.
Then maybe we have to, if we want to consider the both using both hands to cover both knees to pull, we kind of have to regard it as a separate exercise. Otherwise, it doesn't seem to work. And so then if that is the case, if it just says lengthening your lumbus and use both hands to pull both heels, I would do it from the outside, because then that's the most natural way of doing it. Because if he's going to do it from the inside, then I think they should say. Otherwise, I think you should just, pull. That's the most natural thing to do. And then inhale through your nose, self-extreme 7 breaths. And then pull both hands up, use both hands to pull. 引两手，步两膝, cover both knees. Yeah, so I think that's a separate, I would say that's a separate exercise. Okay, good. All right, so now we know, at least that's what we think. Right, so should we look at the next one? So again, it says, lying on your back, stretch and spread out both legs and arms. Inhale qi fully through your nose. Okay, so that's quite straightforward. Take 7 breaths. Shake your legs 30 times and then stop. This removes cold from the chest and your feet, the whole body B, and 觉 reversal. Okay, 觉逆. Okay, so we're going to lie down, spread our hands, our feet, and inhale through our nose. Extreme, so breathe in and then take, so we talk about the breath, yeah? So we can take 5 to 6 in breath, and then we hold, and then exhale, so that's one breath. And then here it asks, is self-extreme, 自己, so you take that breath to your utmost capacity, and then you take 7 breaths. So I think then something to consider here is to shake your legs 30 times. I'm wondering whether you're doing it while you are doing the exercise, doing the breathing exercise. I kind of imagine that is the case. So, Jesse, do you want to ask a question, or have you got more questions to ask, or?
Yeah, it's just basically the same thing. Just wondering about the timing. Like, do we shake on the inhale as and hold, or do we breathe in 7 times, then shake 30 times separately?
Yeah, it's
Seems
not
very
very.
Just to clarify, Dolly, in the English translation, I don't see where it says to hold the breath. Is that something that's in the Chinese that wasn't translated?
Oh, so that's the when we're looking at 一席, so let me see if I can find it. Yeah, you don't really hold it. You just you take inhale 5, 6 in breath, and then 1 exhalation out. You don't really hold it. Sorry. But I think naturally I kind of hold it a little bit, and then before I exhale, I think that's probably what's happening to me anyway. So yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know whether, I mean, if I read the Chinese, then it kind of goes through the time. So you start lying down, you spread out your legs and arms, and then you inhale qi through your nose, and then you take 7 breaths to your utmost capacity, and then you shake your feet 30 times, and then that's it. So if I read in Chinese, I read it with time. That means I do it first, and then I do the next thing, and then I do the next thing.
So would this be like 7 incremental breaths in until you reach your extreme of what you could breathe in, and then you breathe out and shake 30 times, and then you breathe in 7 incremental breaths in, and then breathe out and shake?
Yeah.
Do you think
Well, the
that might
7
be-
incremental, I mean, is normally is 5 or 6 incremental, and then in this instance, you do that 7 times. So from what you just described, then the shaking will be like after you done 1 breath, then you shake 30 times, and then you do another breath, and then you shake 30 times. But if I read just like this, I think I would just do the breathing, which I do 7 times. So so 5 or 6 in breath, and then exhale, that's 1 breath. And then I do that 7 times. Then I shake my legs 30 times. And that's it. But we could try. Again, I don't have the answer. So we could try and see how you feel. Yeah. So yeah, just have a go, and then see which one make more sense then. Yeah. So, what do you think? I mean, it feels all right either way. I mean, it feels good. Feels now my back feels so relaxed. But then I kind of do it. First of all, I start with the 7 breath, and then I shake my legs 30 times, and that's it. And then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to try to do it. Just take 1 breath and then shake. So that's quite fun. And then I also try doing the breathing while I'm shaking my legs. So then I start to get a bit confused now as to which one is better. Felix, can't hear you.
Mute. Now you can hear me. So I tried also both. I also not sure what is right, but I have just one question about the inhalation. So if I understand you right, when you do the inhalation, it's in cycles. So you say you take 5 to 6 breaths. So you breathe in and then you take more and you take more. Is that right? Until you reach the limit, and then you breathe out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to read that, it's in page 73.
Uh-huh.
So it gives you this sort of definition, if you like, of 1 breath, or what 1 breath is. So it's the 3rd line from the bottom. It says pull in the qi over the course of 5 or 6 in breaths and exhale once. This is 1 breath. And then it says count from 1 breath to 10 breaths, and then gradually increase it to 100 breaths.
Yeah, that's
And then
clear.
200, and then
And
yeah.
it's not so clear whether you breathe out, you breathe in through your nose, but the out breath, that's not really clearly
It
stated.
doesn't tell you here, but sometimes if it says 吐气, so
Mhm.
吐气, for me, it will be with the mouth, because it's the mouth radical.
Okay. Yeah.
But here it doesn't. It just says, yeah,
Doesn't mention, huh? No.
doesn't mention. So I think you can breathe in or breathe out through your nose or through your mouth.
Okay.
Yeah, because 引气. So again, if I look at page 73, if I read the Chinese, I could see the pull chi and spit chi. So not to let the sound of your breathing to be heard. So let's see. Can we see it where that is? Spit out from your mouth. Can you? So it's just. I think it's like 7th lines from the bottom, or
Certainly, okay.
last paragraph in page 73. So it's something like slowly and gradually spit out chi from
Yeah,
your
spit out.
mouth. Yeah, and pull chi into your throat through your nose. You should do this gently and slowly. Do not hurry or use too much force. So this section here to me is very constructive, because it tells us how to do this 一息, which is 1 breath. And then later on, so for example, in this exercise we're just looking at, it says 七息, so it's 7 breaths. So then we kind of know exactly what you need to do for that 7 breaths. So
I mean,
yes.
I would make like the exercise on page 73 is the Wogu breathing, right? So where the breathing is like a specific technique, and it feels to me like a bit of a stretch to take that as like a definition for what they mean when they say breathe.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
it's just the word 七夕, it's just the 习. Yeah, I mean, it's here is kind of tell you extreme, yeah. So I think as long as you breathe into your utmost capacity, so inhale to your up, so it says inhale through your nose is self-extreme 7 breaths. So even if we don't have that knowledge about, you know, the 1 breath thing, here I think it's telling you to do that to your utmost capacity, 自己. And therefore, yeah, it is kind of encouraging you to take deep breath. And you do that 7 times. And to me, then I will then shake my feet. So 摇足30而止. So after 30 times, then stop. So yeah, so I think, you know, I think it's all right. Either way is kind of okay. I think as long as you do both things, either you do them at the same time or alternately, or you do the 7 breaths first and then you do the shaking the legs. So yeah, I quite like the exercise. Very simple, but yeah, it's good. Okay, so any Fabrice, yes?
Yeah, I was just rereading the last part where they say, so this removes cold from the chest and your feet, the whole body be, and just enjoy reversal. Yeah, so especially with the breath, so getting the breath first kind of activate a bit more through the chest, warms you up, and then shaking the legs kind of get that heat to flow downward. So that's one path that we can take, which works really well if we do like the 7 breath, activate the upper part, and then shake the legs to get it to flow down. Other option would be to, when we combine them, and what I actually did was to take the deeper breath possible, hold my breath while shaking the legs, and then exhale, which then felt a lot more warm through the whole body with the breath holding combined with the shaking to kind of stimulate that circulation also through the body. It's a little more global, a little less from up till down, which depending on you know, the type of chi blockage, if the cold is just seizing up and keeping everything up, you may want to open up the upper body, upper jiao, and then slowly move everything downward versus just warming up everything because everything's completely cold. Yeah, reflection.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting because you kind of shaking your legs, your feet, while you're holding your breath, isn't it? Is that what you did? Yeah, I also have that kind of tendency of doing things like that, but then it doesn't really say it. So you know, that's why is slightly it doesn't say 不习. So while shaking your legs, but then yeah, it's just the instruction is not that clear to indicate that. So I don't know, Felix.
Yeah, I would say because it's also it's journey, isn't it? So it's really counterflow.
Yes.
So you really want to move it down. So that
Yeah.
I had the feeling when I was doing this and I was shaking at the end my legs that makes sense because I could figure out when there would be a reversal of chi.
Yeah.
Then you get it. So I that makes for me the most, you know, I'm not sure, but that feels the most logic for this kind of.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It
I
does.
think so.
Holding breath has a tendency to rise. So if
Correct.
the idea is
Yeah.
really to get things down, you
Yeah.
want to breathe first and then shake it down. So you create that downward motion overall.
Well,
Yes.
and if we sort of look at the other patterns that we see a lot in this section, we're seeing a lot of opportunity to build tension in a particular area and then release it. And that I found by by doing the breath work initially and then shaking the legs, it built the tension up high and then allowed it to flow.
Yes, that's
Very
right. So yeah, so I think we're almost coming to the consensus now. So that is, we do the breathing exercise first, and then we shake the legs, shake the feet. But then I don't think we actually hold the breath in. So I think we just inhale to our utmost capacity and then exhale. And then we do that 7 times and shake the feet 30 times, and then that's it. So I think that's basically the instruction. Crystal, I'm so happy you're here. Lovely to see you. So because I told the group before you log in that you asked me 2 questions. And so I thought it'd be nice if we could discuss that here with the group, because it would be lovely to hear what they have to say as well.
Yeah.
So do you want to ask the questions now or a bit later?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever works into the flow, it's fine.
Yeah, sure. We can ask the question now.
Okay, well, Dolly was kind enough and she responded to me by actually filtering out all of my extra words, which was brilliant. Thank you so much, because it was quite rambly. But the essence of it was, what are the thoughts from the text regarding, because earlier in the text it says this is not for kids. And I sort of equated it to how in Canada, yoga is like highly popular and we use it. And I'm like, it combines breath work and exercise as well. But Dolly did a really beautiful job of pointing out that it probably wasn't originally that, and that the text we're looking at is historical. So from that point of view, it would not have been prescribed directly to kids, but maybe to parents to be able to participate in that. And even went so far as to suggest that maybe that's the origins of where Tweena sort of had its roots, which is super cool. I love that. Thank you so much. But I thought, is there an opportunity to see about certain activities that would be beneficial for kids or could be integrated into children's use? So that was one of the questions. And then the other one was more of a passive use of this activity. So everything we're talking about looks at an individual who can perform these activities by themselves. But what if example would be for like a stroke condition where somebody doesn't have full capacity of their entire body, but could benefit from some of these? Would it still generate the same kind of effect if we were to do those activities for a person or teach another to do it for somebody?
Wonderful. Very, very good question. So anybody have got any insights on any of the 2 questions? Anybody want to share? So one is about why is not for children. The other one is about, is it possible, somebody else do it for you?
Regarding the not for children part, was it about a specific exercise or was it a general information about the whole text?
Yeah, it's just in general in this text, in this 7th century Chinese medical text, say all the exercises are not recommended for pregnant women. Or is it pregnant women or just, yeah, pregnant women.
Pregnancy and children.
Yeah, and children. So it's very specific. So yeah, you see those in those sections. There's a whole section about diseases that children will have in 主笔后论, and you don't see any DAOI exercises there, none at all.
Well, again, depending on where the cutoff point is for children, if we look at, let's say, pre-adolescent, the way the body is functioning is usually a lot more active. They tend to have much more excess issue than deficiency. And a lot of what we've seen so far, at least in this chapter, treat a blend of, sometimes external excess, but on top of deficiency that allow the door to be open. So you don't want to do things that would hyper-stimulate the children in general. Even in acupuncture treatment for children, the course of treatment will be a lot shorter. The time you leave needles, if you leave them at all, is very short. So you don't want to overly affect, because their body tends to change very quickly. And in medical Qigong is the same thing. Even with Qi emission or acupressure or things like that, the response on the child is usually extremely rapid. It flips very quickly. So especially with the notion of the type of prescription, the amount of time that you do things, children probably don't need that in general. At least from the medical Qigong background that I follow.
So do you think, is it possible to somehow adapt those exercises so then children can actually do them?
You
No,
could.
looking at it from the sort of modern perspective, we now have received these kind of materials. Can we then somehow adapt those? I think this is what happened in Hatha Yoga. So Hatha Yoga, obviously, originally were for practitioners, yoga practitioners. They are not for children, but now there are a lot of those Hatha Yoga exercises for children. And as Crystal said, it's very, very popular. And, you see children gain benefits from doing these kind of exercise. So do you think it's also possible with Daoing exercises?
I think so. I'm the example of benefiting from yoga. When I was a kid, I had a lot of headaches, and my mom did me on yoga, and that was in the
Oh,
70s.
wow.
It was quite advanced for that time because nobody was doing yoga. And it
As a
then,
child.
and it was especially yoga for children. And it's right, just what you said, these were asanas, they were adopted for children.
Yeah.
And I think for these exercises, I think you have to study it. Probably not all exercises. I think some exercises you could modify. I would agree with Fabrice that generally these exercises are pretty forceful. So they're probably too much for a child to do it just one-on-one,
Yeah.
But then if you would adopt it and also in time, make it shorter, make it
That's
more,
right.
probably some of
I
the
think
exercises,
it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible if we do it with care. And I think these will be what I would call the modern invention, if you like. And but then we can move with time. So if there is a need, if we can see that children could benefit from it, I actually think why not? But then historically, obviously, that's not the case. And so to answer your question, Crystal, that why in Zhubin Holun in this 7th century text there were no exercise for children. So I think because historically it's just not part of the it did not developed in that way because it started off with those kind of transcendence, immortality practices. So you actually get a lot of those older men who wants to live long, and then so seeking knowledge from these fang shi people, or from this people who have the knowledge of immortalities, and they want to live long, and so therefore they learn, they hang themselves upside down, or they drink their own urine, or they do all kind of exercise, crazy things. And so these people, they are sort of old man who just want to look useful. So it's that kind of tradition, so it's not quite like how we can do this to benefit everybody. But then when you get to 7th century, then you have these exercise being become medicines, using them as treatment methods. I mean, they have already been there, even in the Neijing, in the Huangdi Neijing, but this is like really clearly, show what exercise for what diseases, and you can do so many different ones for this particular exercise, which is what we are working on. For example, the B syndrome. So I think, so it's just historically, that's just not part of the children, or just does not appear in that kind of traditions. But still, I still think it's a very interesting question, because we can be the pioneers to promote Daoing exercises for children, but then we obviously need to be very careful with that, and need to understand their needs and what kind of things might be helpful to them. So, and I'm sure there are people who now teaching children yoga, they also have a lot of thoughts about how they can adapt certain exercise, Hatha Yoga poses for children to do. And I mean, one of these exercises in Zhubin Holun, if you ask a child to do it, they can do it immediately. But then if you ask an adult to do it, it's really hard. And I'll show you when we get to that. It's just so interesting. It's like every child, they just have that flexibility. It's just, for them, it's really easy. But for an adult, it's really hard. So But yeah, I still think there is potential for developing Daoing exercises for children. But that's for the future, not historically. Historically, that hasn't ever happened yet. Then the second one is about whether somebody can do the exercises for you or do some kind, help you. It's a bit like going for a physio.
Yeah, again,
Yes.
Go ahead, Fabrice.
Yeah, just to make it simple, the exercise we just did, lying down with the breathing and shaking of the leg. If you have somebody who can shake their leg, lay them down, grab their heel, tell them to do the breathing, and then shake their leg. You'll get the same kind of effect. That shaking stimulation will help circulation go from the chest down to the legs. You can definitely do that. Certain exercises are probably easier than others. And then if you understand, acupuncture channel principle points, you can just stimulate them also in the treatment modality. You can very easily combine physical movement with the whole treatment that you're doing based on the need of the patient.
I think the variety of exercises, not everyone will be able to do every one, but like the next one in the list, which we've seen before, is standing against the wall, holding your breath and visualizing. So it's like there's probably going to be something that almost anyone could do. They'd have to be in like even if they're in the most severe like stroke sort of situation where they have like zero control over their body, you could still do visualization and breath holding, if they're not in an ICU. So I think there's something for everyone, but maybe not everything for everyone. But you can also try wiggling people's legs and see what happens. I mean, it's all experimental.
Yeah.
Well, some of you have met Jane in some of the previous workshop, and she's actually working with a patient who had a stroke, and she did use some of the principle that we saw in one of the classes with the patient and helping his leg to kind of be able to move better and all of that, and it worked really well. It helped that patient who had a lot of pain in his leg and lack of circulation get a huge amount of relief compared to his day-to-day situation. So there's definitely adjustment that can be done in that way.
Yeah. And interestingly, because this in this 7th century medical text, there is one Daoing exercise which you can ask somebody else to do it, and that is, it actually says you ask your servant to do it. So it's to combing your hair many times, as many times as possible, and it says you can ask your servant to do it for you. So it's basically, it's a lot of these exercises, they come from texts written for those kind of well-to-do families, and so these people, they got money or they got time, and so they trying to find ways to look after themselves and all their families. So yeah, so they obviously are very well-off people basically, and yeah, so they can do certain things for you. The servants can do certain things for you. But obviously we're talking about completely different sort of context here. We're talking about in a more sort of medical setting, and whether somebody else can actually help the patients to move and to achieve a similar effect. So yes, I think again I agree with what just been said. I think that's definitely is definitely possible. And okay, great. Right. So anybody have any questions? So, okay, let's move on to the next one. So the next one, yes, we have done it, so I will just read it. Again, it says, leaned upright against the wall, holding your breath, move the qi from your head to your toes. This cures Da Feng, leprosy, withering on the side of the body, and various Bi impediments. So it's a very simple exercise. You're holding your breath and then xing qi. So you hold your breath and somehow the qi is moving qi, xing qi, from your head to your feet. Well, I don't think so. I think it's okay. Do we can do we want to do this? Yeah, we can move on. Yeah. Okay, good. But I just think it is very interesting. Something so simple like that can actually be very effective, because if you look, the kind of illnesses that is claimed to cure is quite amazing. Right. Okay. So go on to the next one. Page 90. Again, it says, press your left and right hands against the ground so that you can raise and pull up your lumbers. Stop after 5 breaths. This gets rid of wilting B and improves your 9 orifices. So both hands on the ground. Then I think the keywords are the yang and the yin. So yang is to raise, facing up. Yin is to pull. And so both verbs are related to your lumbers or your waist. So you're trying to raise and pull your lumbers upwards, yeah? And then you're going to take 5 breaths and stop. So I kind of feel like you need to hold that position for like 5 breaths. I don't know whether that's possible or not, but you could try, because it didn't tell you to, sort of relax and then take. I don't know. We'll see. I think if I just read it like that, you raise and pull your lumbers 5. Take 5 breaths while you're doing that. You might be able, it's almost a little bit like the yoga posture, like your whole lumbers kind of raise up. I mean, the illustration doesn't really give you that sort of such a high, you don't sort of move your waist that high, but you can try to kind of almost like above, off the ground, and see. Yeah? Should we have a go?
So I found that this felt
Yeah.
a little easier for me if my legs were straight instead of as they are in the picture. Because I found
Oh, yeah.
when I, if I had my feet down like they are in the picture, I found it was like harder to lengthen the lumbus because there's like pressure going upwards as well. Whereas if my legs were straight, then I could sort of lift my upper body and let my lower body dangle a little bit more to lengthen the
Oh,
lumbus.
okay. Yeah, let me try. So is your buttock still on the ground?
It was mostly, yeah, because I was getting the pull in the lumbus mostly by lifting the rib cage, pressing through my arms to lift the rib cage up and letting
Right.
my back sort of hang. But when I put my feet on the ground, then that sort of pushed my back upwards a little bit, so it
Yeah.
didn't feel like it was lengthening as much.
Oh, yes, I think that it works for me when I have my feet stretched out, and then I would just do that. Then I was kind of wondering whether I should lift my whole sort of buttock up in the air or not. But then that's hard work, yeah. So then I kind of just sit on the ground with my feet stretched outwards, and that feels quite comfortable. So then I can do the 5 breaths quite comfortably.
I do feel like it is somewhat hard work no matter what, because it's like a lot of weight on your triceps to hold that position, right? When you're
Right, on
lifting
your
your,
arms.
yeah, the back of your arms, which generally is a good thing to strengthen for supporting Taiyang as well, right?
Right. Yeah. Hmm. So, okay. Yes, Fabrice?
It's interesting, actually, when almost the complete opposite of what Jess was saying, if I understood properly, where just similar to how the picture is in the book, my heel and my buttocks were really close together, and the idea of pressing with my hand was basically so that my whole pelvis can dangle down. So all the weight of my pelvis is what's actually stretching my lumbar spine. And just standing there, especially with the breath on the exhale, that relaxation felt like the spine was becoming heavier and heavier. On the inhale, um, it's like the contraction of the muscle for the inhale kind of lifted it up a little bit more, and then on the exhale, that weight relaxation felt like it was stretching the lumbar downward even more. So it's interesting. And what Jesse was saying with the feet extended, tried it. It felt also there was some level of pull, but I was feeling a lot more weight onto my heel because my legs were receiving some of that weight also for the point of contact versus creating kind of a suspended bridge between my feet and my arms in the back and letting my torso and pelvis specifically with the center of gravity kind of pull the lumbar downward.
So Fabrice, were you then sitting on the floor? Oh, okay, you're going to show it to us. That's great. Oh, so he is away. He's lift his buttock up.
Thank you. Because at first I sat down, I'm like, I don't think my arms are long enough for this. I cannot push it. So I felt like I kind of cheated and used the wall.
Right. So
I went over to the wall and got the same effect though. I sort of inched my way up a bit so that I was able to sort of hold myself up, because at first it was my feet taking most of the load. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. My hands have to do the work. So I used the wall and I did that. Otherwise I was kind of in like this odd bridge position. I thought, okay, that does work, but that's not what the picture looks like. So
No. So I think
yeah.
the picture is kind of, it didn't really do it, didn't really sort of justify.
It's
So I
okay.
think it is to raise and to pull the waist, the whole sort of lumbar area. So it would then be off the ground then, isn't it? So that makes sense.
Crystal raised a question that I actually had when you first described it about the bridge, and I was wondering, is it actually a full, hand behind your shoulder type of bridge because you were talking about a lifting and stretching of the spine. So the picture and the English translation doesn't aim in that way at all, but when you were talking about the two main verb, it kind of brought that image also in my hand of the stretching, lifting. I don't remember the exact word you use, but that kind of question came up as well as a reflection.
But then the hands definitely is not going to do it like that. It will be down first on the ground. Yes, that's clear. And then you trying to raise and pull the lumbars. Cool, great. So should we move on? The next one, we've done it already. So that is to lift your toes and stop after 5 breaths. This pull B impediments from your lumbars and back, gets rid of withering on one side of the body and improves your hearing. Practice regularly so that your eyes, ears, and all the other senses are not obstructed. I think it's a really, sounds a really amazing exercise. And I do that quite a lot actually when I'm in bed, because you can do that quite easily lying down. Just raise your toes and then you take 5 breaths and you stop. So yeah, it's good exercise. Let's do the next one. Again, it says sitting on the ground with your knees up, extend your right leg while both hands hold your left knee. Lengthen your lumbars and inhale qi fully through your nose for 7 breaths. So that's the same kind of description. 伸腰, lengthen the lumbars. 以鼻纳气, use the nose to inhale qi. 自极七喜, self-extreme, 7 breaths. And then it says stretch your right foot out, right foot to the side. This gets rid of problems with bending, stretching, bowing, and rising, as well as aches, pains, and beat in your calves. So I think we've done this already, yeah? So I think that's quite clear. Right, and the next one, again, we've done it, so I'm just going to read it. Again, it says, make an arch with left and right arms and hold your breath. Do this 9 times. It cures pains in the arms and legs, exhaustion and tiredness, and lack of movement caused by wind B. Okay, so 左右, left, right, arch, both arms. So we think it's going to be move to the left and then move to the right, and then you hold your breath and you do that 9 times. I think something like that. There's a slight variations. Felix, yes?
Actually, I have 2 questions now. Because the first question was about raising your buttocks, because if I look to figure 36, because that's in the same vein, I couldn't imagine that you would raise your buttocks at that exercise. So I wonder in figure 34 if you would have to do that as well, as Fabrice pointed out, So whether you just sit, because I think even when you just touch the ground and you lift your lumbar area up, it opens up. It's not necessarily you need to lift up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's one of my questions. I'm not sure, because in figure 36, for sure I think you won't lift your buttocks. You just sit straight up, isn't it?
Yes, 36, you just sit straight up, but then you pull your
Pull your leg.
left
Yeah.
knee closer to your chest. I think the ones, the ones that which you put your hands on the ground and you trying to raise and pull up your lumbers. I mean, it
Could be both. Yeah.
it could be it could be so many scenarios. So for example, it didn't tell you where you put your feet, yeah? So Jesse put his feet forward.
Yeah.
Which I think, you could do that because it didn't tell you, it didn't tell you to squat and sit. That's just immediately how I would do it. Didn't tell you to do that. So, but it didn't tell you to put your feet straight, stretch either. It just says both hands, occupying the ground. But then if you do that, you have to lower yourself. And therefore, But then the key thing is you're trying to raise and pull your lumbers, your yao, and then, so while you're trying to do that, do you then lift your whole buttock above the ground, or you just kind of trying to lift it somehow?
Yeah. Could be either way, probably.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, but then a lot of those kind of things is like, imagine that they're going to give this to somebody who is not well. The person is just going to do it to their capacity, really. So then whatever they could do, they're going to do it in their way that is going to be what they can do. Especially when the instruction is kind of not that specific, so you can kind of
modify it
Yeah.
anyhow.
Yeah. Yes, Jesse?
So I just want to like sort of reference the previous exercise as well, since we're still debating it, is a lot of focus in these exercises seem to be about creating space between the lumbar spine and the thoracic spine, like the top of your
Yes.
low back. And so that exercise mentions like being good for the 9 orifices. And so your L1, L2 area is where your nerve for your genitofemoral nerve comes out. And so like the nerves that feed the genitals, which is the lower 2 orifices, or at least one of the lower 2 orifices, is coming out from that region. And also that region L1 is where the sacrum itself gets innervation. And so opening up that space between the thoracic and lumbar spine is going to help to improve nerve innervation to like the psoas muscle, the genitals, as well as like, when people get achy low back in the SI region, around their sacrum, that sort of exercise is going to help to open up that area and improve circulation and nerve innervation for that achy low back B pattern.
Perfect. So what position is that going to be?
So, I mean, this is sort of what I was visualizing when I was sort of having my legs straight and lifting up my rib cage, was to try to separate the thoracic and lumbar spine to get that junction to, breathe chi and remove stagnation from that junction.
What about the one that Fabrice showed us? Do you think that would do that as well?
I didn't have that experience, but that's open for interpretation and experimentation.
Cool. Great. Okay. Very exciting. We can always try to see. Right. Okay, so let's do
Wes, did
so
you have something you wanted to add in, or?
Pardon?
Oh, sorry, I just had my hand up briefly.
Oh, Wes,
yeah,
yes.
just it's funny because from my perspective, everything Jesse said, I was thinking about, except from a Zhonggu perspective, bone setting. Oftentimes, in order to get the lumbar to both distract, but also sometimes if it's set forward to go back, I'll use intra-abdominal pressure by folding the knees. So for me, opening up that lumbar area involved both up and down, as well as with the knees bent, a pressure both back and forth. So in other words, you know, I understand what Jesse was saying. I was thinking similar, but for me, bending the knees was what did that.
It's better. Bending the knees will achieve that effect.
As well as, again, like I said, if a
Yeah.
lumbar vertebra is often anteriorly displaced, you can bend the knees as you're trying to set it, and that intra-abdominal pressure helps push it back posteriorly. So for me, in that position, that's what I was thinking of when I had my knees bent, as I was also tractioning up and down.
Maybe it would pair with figure 31 then, where you're bending your knees and covering your knees and grabbing your heels, which is more clear knees up to your chest.
Yeah. Well, this one, the figure 31, it definitely tells you to sit on the ground with your knees up, 居坐. So it gives you that instruction. Whereas this one, it just tells you left, right hands occupying the ground. So if somebody just said, "Oh, go and put your hands on the ground," I think you're just gonna sort of go down. So naturally, you kind of just gonna squat down. So without doing anything else, and then it then says you trying to raise and pull the lumbars, and you take 5 breaths and stop, and that's it. So but then, because it didn't tell you what to do in terms of the position, I think if somebody says, "Oh, put your hands on the ground," somebody might want to put their feet in front, so then to make it comfortable. That's also possible. And then, it doesn't say it, so I don't know.
Dolly, out of curiosity, does occupying the ground in a Chinese sense hold a notion of movement, or is it a static aspect? Because I'm kind of wondering, are we supposed to kind of walk backward or something with it, or are we just placing our hand firmly on the ground and then we're using it to press?
I would say place your hands firmly on the ground, so that the 居地夹居is like almost like you're take possession of that place. So it will definitely be like you really firmly put your hands on the ground. 居地. So you don't move at all once your hands are on the ground. And then you focus on raise and pull the lumbars, and then the 5 breaths. So yeah. Wonderful. Okay, so let's move on to the last one of this section. So it's page 92, and this is my favorite DAOI exercise in this text. Again, it says, whenever you feel congestion and stiffness in your back, regardless of the season, tuck your throat between your shoulder blades. Raise your head and try to make the 脖颈 points face upwards. So it's the points, do you know where that is? So it's, in between the shoulders, yeah? Okay, good. Between the shoulder and the neck. Face, then move your head to the left and right. So you kind of moved your head from side to side. Thrice 7 times. So that's 3 times 7. Stay still for a while. So after you've done that, you just sort of relax. Wait until the circulating blood and the moving qi settle. Then practice it again. So you do that again. Start slowly and speed up at the end. So you turned your head somehow slowly and then faster at the end. You must not speed up in the beginning and slow down at the end. If you do not have any illness, it is desirable to practice it 3 times a day at sunrise, noon, and sunset. each time, practice it twice, 7 times. This gets rid of illnesses caused by cold and heat, pain in your spine, lumbus and neck, wind bee, ulcers in your mouth, teeth wind, and dizziness. I'm not sure what teeth wind is, something to do with your teeth, which
At risk of sounding silly, isn't it? Teeth wind. I could be confused, but it might be lockjaw, like when they're stuck. Much like I think Dolly is right now.
I think Dolly is frozen.
I think she's stuck.
There she is.
Oh,
good.
sorry. Am I? Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. So where did I get to?
You made it to teeth wind.
The teeth wind. Okay, so I was just asking if anybody know about what teeth wind is.
Does anyone have the dictionary of Chinese medicine terms handy?
牙齿风 teeth wind.
Let me see. I will try to find it. 1 second.
So it always seems to be to do with the neck, the head, mouth, teeth, dizziness, also to do with your head. So anything, this exercise all to do with the head area.
But it also mentions back pain of any sort, right?
Yes, so that's yes, that as well. So spine, lumbus, neck. Yeah.
It's the practical dictionary, but it says just it's a,
Has it got teeth
yeah,
wind?
no, not teeth wind. That's no, it's not there. But I assume it's a kind of, yeah. Crystal said, I think that could be actually. You suggested lockjaw, huh, Crystal? Yeah,
Yeah.
could be, but I'm not so sure. But it's something with wind and the teeth for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So how are we going to do this exercise? So we're going to tuck the throat between the shoulder blades and then raise your head. And so you're trying to make the 脖颈 points to face upwards. And you tuck your throat and you look up and you turn your head from side to side. I think it asks you to do it 3 times, 7 times.
So can I make a distinction here? So one thing with all exercises that I've learned, when you're tucking your throat into your shoulder blades, I imagine that's pulling the chin back. And then, at this point, if we lift our chin up, it's very, very different than if we keep our chin tucked. Because if we lift our chin up, we're tightening up our SCM muscle, and whereas if we keep our chin tucked, we're lengthening the SCM muscle. And so I would imagine that, or maybe we could just try it out and see how it feels, but see how it feels to keep your chin tucked and turn your head without lifting your chin. So if you want to get the bulging point upwards, maybe like pull your whole chest back. Once you've locked this structure here, pull your chest back and then turn, versus lifting your chin up, and see how it feels.
you raise your shoulders, or you just put it? Do you raise your shoulders?
I don't see any benefit to raising the shoulders myself.
Okay, so you just put your throat between your shoulder blades. Okay, so you tuck in.
So mechanically, if our goal is to open up the shoulder well, which is also, one of the name of gallbladder 21, the way to do that is actually to descend the scapula towards the back, which will open and flatten your shoulder, releasing your upper trapezius, which simultaneously, by tucking in the chin and straightening your cervical spine, you get a nice stretch and opening in this area. And as Jesse was saying, that pulling back will allow the scalene and SCM to open up the clavicle and first rib, so that your whole curved forward posture gets realigned. And by aligning your neck, then your head is free to rotate left and right, which will open up all of the passage connecting the occiput, the brain, the neck together, allowing the lymphatic system to really drain from the head down into the body, and all of the circulation to be improved.
Okay, that's all good. What about raise your head?
So the general tucking in from here, you're usually kind of drawing a circle. So you feel that gentle rising from byway upward, which create that opening through the cervical spine, so that your head feels like it's floating atop your spine. If you're lifting your head, like Jess was saying, you're starting to actually close all of the back through that compressive tension, because the only muscle that's straight in your spine is your longus coeli in the front of the cervical spine. And when it pulls in, that's when you get that straightening of the cervicals. So you want to get that gentle tuck and stretch, allowing the shoulder blade to go down, opening all of your shoulder, and then your head feels completely free to be able to turn all over. If you start to bend, you start to get a lot of contraction through the different muscles.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm still worried about this yang mian. So, because if anyone could read the Chinese, then you got the last line, the first line, the last character is to raise, is to face upwards. So, and then the first character of the second line is the mian, your face. So you definitely raise your face somehow. Anybody?
Oh, Wes raised his hand, and I can add a little something afterwards.
Wes. Yes, please.
Well, let me just lower this so I don't forget. I was actually, if I go by what it says, instead of tucking my chin, you can pull your cervicals back, which still keeps this open to be able to look up. And now I've got space everywhere. If I actually follow what it says, instead of my chin, which locks things up, I'm just moving my throat back, which is right what the text says. And then you said the verb yang, right, to look up. Yeah, yang mian.
Yang mian is to look.
And that still leaves everything open, rather than if I think about the chin, that mucks up the works for me.
Yeah, and there's really no chin here. It's
Right.
to shrink the throat.
Yeah.
To tuck your throat in, between your shoulder blades. It is the yang mian, is the raise your head, your face.
Yes, that part you can actually tilt your head roughly to about up to 30 degrees before you engage the curvature of the cervical again. So what you want to make sure is that you don't lift it too far up and feel your neck go forward, but you maintain that straightening of the neck and gently allow the head to tilt on top of it. So you become basically like a bubble head. If you place your fingers onto your cervical spine, and then you start to lift your head, you'll notice at one point the vertebra kind of move forward anteriorly. So if you lift up just before that, then you maintain that freedom that Wes was talking about. If you go too far, then muscles start to tense up to maintain stability.
Okay, so how far is too far?
So to me, when I'm here,
Right.
I mean, I would look about this way. So my eyes are above the line of horizon. So I'm looking towards the sky, but if I go here, already here, I'm starting to feel that tension through the cervical.
Okay. Very interesting. And then you start to move your head left to right. Apparently you do that slowly in the beginning, and then you try to speed up.
Dolly, when I'm right, when I read the text rightly, also you do it first 3 times and then you wait. So then move your head to the left and right, try 7 times, stay still for a while, and then you wait until the circulation of the blood and the chi, the moving chi settles, and then you continue. So actually you do it again then, isn't it? So it goes in round of 7. So this counts for 3, isn't it? So the one movement, and that you do 7 times, and then you wait till the chi, the moving chi is settling and the blood is circulating, and then you do it again. Am I right?
My reading is you do left, right 3 times, 7 times. So you just keep doing left, right, left, and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 2. Basically, you count to 21.
Okay, 21.
That's
Yeah,
how
yeah, that's the way. Yeah,
I
okay.
do. And then you stop,
Then you stop.
and then you wait, and then you start again, left, right,
Again.
count to
Yeah.
21.
Okay. 21. Yeah, so it's 21. 3 times 7. Yeah, okay.
But I'm still a little bit worried about this boarding point face upwards, trying to make this boarding point face upward. So I feel like I'm not really doing anything to it. Is that just I bring my shoulder further back, and that's all I need to do?
I mean, why even that? If the point's on the top,
Yeah,
we stand up
It's
straight.
already at the
it's
top.
facing
So
up.
what?
it's already there. Yeah.
You're already there.
It's already doing it. That's why I just that worries me.
I think it just is
21.
an artistic way of saying don't slouch forward or backward.
Yeah, but then 努 is like use your 努力 is like work hard, yeah, work hard to make the 脖颈 to face upwards. That's
Yeah.
why I feel I got this feeling of raising the shoulders up
Yeah, there is accent on it, huh? So if you read the text, you might think you have to do something.
and try to make the 脖颈 point face upwards.
But maybe I would read, if I would do the practice, it feels more natural just to open your chest, and
Right.
then really gallbladder 21 will be
Yeah.
towards the sky. Because I don't think you need to should do like this, because this feels very unnatural. Well, this is another exercise, but I think this is probably more. So you open up,
Yeah.
tuck in, and then slowly you move
Left to right.
left to right.
And you don't even look up too high either.
No. It makes sense, because if you really do this, you block. I would agree with
Right.
you.
Okay. But you still need to raise your face. So still need to have a certain angle there, but just
Yeah.
not too much. I can hear the sound at the back of my neck. So it's still pretty effective.
Oh yeah, sure. It works. It's a very nice
Yeah.
exercise.
It's a lovely exercise, isn't it?
You can do every day, 3 times a day, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I think it's a lovely exercise. It's that I've been doing it wrongly. So thank you so much. That's really great. Lovely. Yes, I'll practice that now. Great. Okay, we still got some time. So any questions before we move on to the next section?
I just wanted to mention from 2 weeks ago before we move on. If you remember, I said that I was experiencing wind B, like I had stiff neck and shoulder, and we did all these exercises, and by the next day it was gone. So whether or not it would have been gone anyways, it's hard to say. But my first anecdotal experience of treating B with Daoyin was successful.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Jesse. That was great. Also, last session, we were doing this exercise about using the foot onto your knee. And we were saying, whether you have to do it on your, the top of your foot or the base, but actually the text definitely says is at the top. Yeah. So you kind of have to make your legs to go out sideways, and we did it. And after that session, my whole lower part of my whole body just feels really relaxed. It's an incredible sensation, and that lasts for quite some time. So I just thought that was really amazing for me. Great, excellent. So, anybody wants to read chapter 9? 卷 2, section 36, symptoms of wind cold. Who wants to read?
You want me to read?
Yes, please, Felix.
Let's
Thank
start
you.
with the first part then. Wind cold is a result of the Zhang, the yin organs, and the Fu, the yang organs, being deficient. The insufficient blood and qi receive the qi of wind cold. When there is warmth, blood and qi flow smoothly. When there is cold, they become congealed and choppy. Wind that causes damage to a person can be hot or cold. If the wind carries cold, it will fracture the qi in the blood and cause one's face to be green and one's heart to be oppressed. The person will vomit and have foam in their mouth. Their forelimbs will be painful and cold. Hence it is called wind cold. The orthodox prescriptions for decoctions, hot packs, needles, and stones is given elsewhere. The Yangshan supplementation and Daoyin instructions are now attached below.
Great. So that's the description for the for this disease entry, symptoms of wind cold. Anybody want to say anything in this particular illness?
Just to note that it's a very different pathomechanism from the last chapter with just wind. So I don't know if that is something we should pay attention to.
So different from the previous? What do you mean, Jesse? Can't hear you.
Previously, we talked about like the pores, and now we're talking more about the zong and fu and the qi and blood. And so, to me, it seems like the wind cold is like a more internal type of pathogen. Like it's external still, but moved more internally than when it's just wind B, as in chapter 8. So I don't know. We'll see if that is important as we move forward.
Okay.
I think it's still an external pathogen, but it's carried by the wind. but there is a preceding deficiency. So it seems, as I read the text, that if the body is if the qi is weakened,
Yeah.
then the wind and the cold comes more easily in, and then they can ultimately enter the zhang and the fu.
Yeah, because your zhang and the fu are already in deficient.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So, okay, great. Right. So the exercise we got this one, the Yangshen recipes, the Daoing methods says, keep one foot still on the ground and place the other foot facing to the side like the shape of ding. So that's like a T shape. And turn your body together with your arms to one side and bring them back quickly, alternate between left and right sides twice 7 times. This gets rid of wind cold in the spine and withering on one side, which is not freely moving or lubricated. This is one of the first, it appears in the first disease entry. So I think do we want to do it? I mean, the only thing is, I think Jesse's already doing. The only thing is, I think I'm not quite sure about where you know, the foot that is going to be on one side, is that the side where your hands goes to. That's basically what I would do. Is basic. So your feet, one is straight, the other one is kind of sideways, yeah. And that sideway also, you got your both hands on that side. And then you bring your hands quickly back. Then your hands both on the left side, and then you got this foot, the left foot on the side. So maybe we should have a try just to see what I just described is really works. Should we just have another go? So did that make sense, what I just described? Fabrice, did you do it the way I said, or you did it
I've tried
different?
both. It does feel more natural to have a stronger swing towards the foot that's open, especially because there's that dynamism into this particular movement. As a side note, this is a typical movement in one of the Qigong system I practice, which is a bit more Zanzuan based usually. But the way they would do it is not as dynamic. The only thing would be to you can start by circulating the qi through the lower abdomen, lower dantian area, and then as you turn, you'll have this kind of bigger movement, which you'll be able to rotate with, where you can either have a weight shift or a stable, back-weighted leg as you're doing the exercise. So there's a few variation of that type of exercise that floats around depending on the system. But as far as the way it's described in the book, I think that dynamic rotation towards the foot that's already open feels much more natural.
Hmm. Then
So
another
after,
question.
oh, sorry.
Jen, yes.
So after the first time we saw this exercise, it's hard to know all the details, but using the context that we found it in the first chapter, we had the exercise where you lean against the wall, and the
Yeah,
exercise where you lift your toes preceding
that's right.
this. And so I sort of put them together so that when you turn, you're rooted on your back leg and you're leaning so that you have your up down energy going from the top of your head through your back foot, and the top foot is lifted because that's apparently something else that's very good to do for B. So trying to incorporate all of the little details that they gave us into this is like a sort of super exercise.
Yes. Well, you could do that if you want to. Right. Okay, that's good. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, so I'll carry on reading, yeah? Again, it says, sit on the ground with your knees up. So this is the 蹲坐 or the 句坐. Body straight and head level. Interlace your fingers and place them below your chin, keeping your head still. So far, so good, I think. Shake your elbows, moving them upwards and then down 7 times. Oh, no, sorry, 7 times 7. Okay, so that's 49 times altogether. And then you repeat, but this time is clasping your hands thrice 7 times. So slightly different hand, the way you hold your hands, this is different. Relax your body and mind. This gets rid of wind cold, which can lead to breast swelling and congestion, as well as irregular menstruation. Menstruation. That is actually, I'm not quite sure about the translation here. These symptoms will decrease day by day. So the 余寸不调, 余寸, I mean, the trouble is, I don't know what 余寸is. It's something not regulated. I think when I was trying to translate, yeah, it's
Is it literally fish inch?
yes, yeah, exactly. So what is it?
What's the line? Can you translate the line that comes right before that?
The line comes before that is get rid of breast, 乳房, wind, cold, swollen, and then stifling.
Okay.
Then you get to the fish inch, not regulated. Day by day, decreasing. So yeah, no idea what 余寸不调 is.
I mean, I know the anatomical description of like here and here is the big fish and the little fish.
Yes,
Like
okay.
maybe
That's the 余季, yeah? 余季.
yeah. So this is all total speculation, but because if you're interlacing and going up and down like this, you're sort of stretching out your wrists. Maybe it might be like carpal tunnel type region.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right. And that is not regulated.
So if you get like numbness in your hands, or I mean, this is supposed to be for cold B, right?
Cold. Yeah, but then this to get rid of the breast, wind cold that is swollen and congested.
Yeah, it sounds like more like a treatment for mastitis or breast cancer, which I guess is a byproduct of the cold. So again, this is sort of impacting deeper levels than just the wind. Working with Taiyang, we're working more with Jui Yin or Yang Ming. I don't know.
Honestly,
Speculate.
I don't know what Yutun is. So that could be your homework. If you have the time, that would be great to find out what Yutun is.
Is it possible it's a classical term for like a facial feature or facial anatomy?
A classical
Term for like something on the face, like the fish inch on the face? I don't know.
no idea. I don't think it's to do with the face though. Anyway, so should we have a go? Maybe when we're doing the exercise, we can think about this fish inch not regulated. So yeah, so you're supposed to do that 7 times 7, and then try to hold somehow do the second one, which is like you clasp your hands, and then you do that again up down with your elbows, 3 times 7 times. Just see the differences. Maybe there are any, I don't know whether there are differences or not. Have a go. They definitely feel different. One is interlace your fingers. It feels more on the working on my arms a lot more. Whereas when I hold my hands, it feels it's pulling my back a lot more.
So I had
Yes.
this interesting thought when we were discussing before. And I mean, we're layering some newer information versus previous.
Mm.
This area on the outside of the hand is associated with the small intestine channel, which we understand has an effect on the chest, but also specifically on the breast tissue and the area of the breast. So the
Okay.
areas that I agree were also really affected kind of follow that similar sort of pattern of the channel.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if it's something along the small intestine channel that we're influencing to get the outcome.
Right. Hmm.
That and I kept hitting my chin.
That's cool. So, but how do you feel is there any difference? Like doing because, I mean, why do this first and then 49 times and then you do that and then 21 times. So, you know, I mean, there's almost like the emphasis for the first one, but then equally doing something similar but different 21 times. I mean, or do you feel awkward doing like this? I feel when I'm doing like this, it's pulling my back, the muscles at the back more. But it could be just the way I do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're pointing to something, because when you interlace your finger, in order to keep them, you kind of have to push your hands together, which engage more the pecs and the front of the body. Whereas when you interlace or grasp together, you have more of a pull from the back. So you have part of it which engage the front a little bit more, and part of the exercise which engages the back. So you get that slight difference between the two. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that really makes sense. And that's kind of how I felt when I was doing it. Oh, that's really cool.
Like the way that the hands are clasped is probably very obvious to someone who was back then, but you know, there's so many variations, right? Like, is it like a Taoist salute? Is it like this? Is it like this? You know, like what does clasp mean, right? Like, it feels
your hand.
like this.
Yeah, you could do it like, as long as it's not interlace your finger, you're holding your hands, and then because if you're whichever that is more comfortable, I imagine. And you don't have to hold them like really tightly either, I don't think. So as long as you're that kind of locked together, and then because then immediately I could feel the back, the sort of pulling, the muscle at the back being pulled a lot more.
I'm definitely going to give this to my patients with breast cancer.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I think that we are running out of time now. So we'll get to page 94. So next time we'll start with page 95. Great. So that's it. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
See
you so
in-
much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.